Alright, in this video I'm going to be tying the Gambusia Hairwing fly pattern. This is a twist on a classic hairwing streamer. It's just been fashioned to look more like our local baitfish, the mosquitofish here in Florida. It's super easy to tie. You can tie them up quick, fill up a fly box. I've been fishing it for the last 3 or 4 years with pretty good success. So this fly was born out of trying to match the hatch during the Florida shad run, when the fish get real keyed into small bait fish being washed back into the river as the water recedes off the floodplain and within its banks. This is known colloquially as the squeegee, and it's basically a big feeding frenzy that happens, and the shad participate in this feeding. Actually, FWC biologists now do recognize that shad indeed eat in the St. Johns River during the spawn, and they now believe that they put these calories back into egg production. So it's behavior that is often seen south of Puzzle Lake, but I've seen it all the way up by the mouth of the Econ and areas even just south of Lake Harney. In the vise, I have a size 8 Aberdeen hook. I'll tie these down to size 10s and 12s as well. It's good to have some smaller sizes, as the bigger mosquito fish seem to get gobbled up early. And when it's just the fry that are left, it's really important to have smaller profiles in your fly box. This particular Aberdeen is a Mustad 3261 in gold. However, I would say any Aberdeen or longer light wire hook will do. What we're trying to do here is keep the pattern light, so we can fish it just subsurface or in the top foot, maybe 2 feet of water. So lighter is better. We want to keep the fly tight and compact. I'll be tying this fly with just some black 6/0 uni. And I'll start by laying down a basic thread. I'm going to start about a hook eye's length behind the hook eye. And then just proceed down to the tip. Once we get down to the tip, just going to cut off the excess and then just return right back up to the tie-in point. For the tail, I'm going to be using kip tail and a pearl gray. This is a slightly lighter gray I'm going to be using down here at the butt of the tail. There's some darker hair up here that you can use for a wing. I actually prefer for the wing to use the shad gray, which is just slightly darker at its tip. If you can't find it, just use the darker on the shad gray. I'm just going to trim off a shank. And then just pull out the fluff. And again, I want this to be tight and compact, so I'm going to grab it by the longest tips and then pull out any of the shorter stuff. And you want the tail to be roughly about the length of the shank. It's about right. Just square off my ends. And then I'm just going to wax my thread to make it a little easier to capture those hairs. And then give my bobbin a counterclockwise spin. And I'll just capture that right at the tie-in point. And then begin working your way back. What I'll try to do is just lift the hair up to keep it on top of the hook, keep it from rotating around the hook. We're just going to bring our thread back down to the tip of the hook. Looks about right. Now we're going to tie in some flash, and what I like to use is this Krynic Metallics blending filament. And you can pick this up, I think I got it from Michael's Craft Store. You can pick it up on Amazon as well. And the reason I like it is it's It's really just one single piece of flash wrapped around thread, a thin thread, and that just helps protect the flash, and I don't have to use UV resin or Sally Hansen's to help protect it. Again, we're trying to keep everything nice and light here. So I'll peel off about a foot or two of that and then fold it in half. I'll just use a little saliva here to help manage it. And then I'll fold it in half again around my thread. And then capture at the tip. And then we're just going to bring our thread back up to the tying point. And then we'll just wrap that flash along the body. And again, if you don't have this blending filament, you could just use a silver crystal flash. It just may not be as durable. Just going to bring it right past our tying point and then capture it with the thread. Trim off our excess. Okay, for the wing, I'm going to use the shad gray kip tail. I'm just going to cut a shank of that off. And you can note up towards the top of the tail, there's a natural curve in the hair. I just basically want the majority of that to be pointed down. It's about as thick as the gap of the hook. And I want the length to just be slightly shorter than the tail. So measure that and give it a trim. I'm just going to wax my thread again. Give my bobbin a counterclockwise spin to help capture. And then I'm going to tie the wing on just behind the eye. And again, I'm trying to keep these hairs up on top of the hook. Something about like that. And then we're going to build up a decent head here. And again, I'm just squeezing the hair and hook shank to keep it from rolling. And I want to build up a decent head because we're going to add some eyes. It's pretty good. We'll just whip finish. And trim off our thread. Okay, so you could stop here and this would be just like any other hair wing, but I like to give it an update with some modern materials and put on some eyes. And these are just small little 3D eyes. I like the silver and black. We're going to start out by just trying to get those to stick to the head that we built. Okay, so we've got our eyes attached to the head, and now I'm just going to use some UV resin to help bond them. And what I like to do is there's a little bit of a gap between the two eyes. I like to fill in that gap on the top first. So you're just going to put a little drop of the resin and make sure it touches both eyes. Fill in that gap and then quick set it with your UV light. And then do the same on the bottom. Careful not to close out the eye of the hook. And we'll hit that again with the UV light. And now what I like to do is just take the glue and encompass the 3D eyes all the way around. And here what we're trying to do is just build up a nice round head. Unlike the fry fly, which is another mosquito fish imitation, we're not trying to build up a teardrop head. We really want just a nice round head that encompasses the eyes. I'm just going to start my UV flowing and then just rotate the vise, trying to encompass those eyes. Something about like that, and I'll keep rotating just to allow the UV to more evenly cover the eyes till we get a nice ball, and then I'll hit it with the UV light again. Just keep rotating. Looks about right. And then last, I just like to touch it with little Sally Hansen's to keep it from being tacky. And there you have it. That is the Gambusia Hairwing. Great pattern on the St. Johns River. Like I said, I've fished it the last 3 or 4 years with very good success. Tie some up and give it a shot.